and he is the president and founder of Encouraging Me I'm Young Incorporated, which is a Detroit-based nonprofit organization. How did you come up with the idea to start a nonprofit organization?
Honestly, brother, I didn't. It was a mom. I originally started out with the clothing line, t-shirts, laying shirts where kids was getting killed in 2004. And in 2006, a mom asked me to mentor her son away from video games and things like that because he wasn't active towards school. He wasn't doing what she said, right? He pretty much was just chilling, wasn't active at all. And after about 4 sessions in a very rich neighborhood, after about 4 sessions, the kid got up and took off. And she asked me a bunch of questions. And to be honest with you, brother, it was about toward December 2006. So January, we meet. She hands me this book and tell me to keep calling this number. And May 24th, 2007, I was handed a nonprofit.
Wow. And you have a mobile mentoring bus, which is like, I imagine, really needed in cities like Detroit.
You know what, brother? To be clear, it's needed everywhere, right?
Right.
I think in this work, I've been at it for a long time. All my boys are husbands and fathers, and our message has been around since 1992. But to take it to apparel and to the RV was actually an idea and a concept, my wife pitched to me. And so, I was like, well, if this is something you want to do, let's put it together. So we put together this whole package. It's a beautiful package. We reached out to this company in Wisconsin who actually could gadget it up, the whole nine. And it was a different size RV. And we only got a little bit of money. Because as you well know, what's the investment on boys, right? Where is the investment in our boys? We constantly lean on the absent dad piece. We constantly lean on the poor reading piece. We constantly need. So where's the investment in boys? And so we couldn't sit back no longer. And we have this annual pancake breakfast. It's a great story because we had got a nice size donation to do the work from the Balmer Group, right? And so we were like, okay, this is what we on. This is the start of the mobile mentoring bus, and we couldn't find one, and so we bring this company in called the Pancake King, and I just so happened to ask the wife who works with the husband, and I asked them, hey, do y'all know any place where RVs, because they always talking about going camping. And long story short, she was like, I'm gonna send you a link to some RVs. So we had already been looking, but we were looking at the lucrative RVs, you know what I mean? Like we're looking at the real sweet RVs, like the 2021, like, can we get that? And because we got this fundraiser out here, nobody was pitching in for the boy. In fact, they invested 12.8 billion in girls and women, and they built 2,000 shelters. None of it was for boys and men. And so for me, we running into this wall. And so finally I was like, hey, let's just go find one. And just for having the link she sent us kind of led us to a little more variety. And then it led us right to getting an RV out of Ohio from what they call Camping World, which I wrote at least 6 emails, 7 emails, 8 emails to Camping World trying to get one donated. And that way we could use the money to, do some work on the inside. Make a long story short, we decided we found one, but it was she found it, right? I said, here's one. And it was funny because I said, here's one, but it's big. You know what I mean? Like, this is massive. Right. And so she says, uh, brother, she says to me, she says, that's it. Let's go look at it. I'm like, this thing is monstrous. You know what I mean? And so we drive into Ohio, we go in, and all intents and purposes, we cranked it up, we drove it, it was smooth, and it just so happens it's the same year that we started our work, which was 2007. So it was a marriage made, and then we took to my Facebook page and friends, and we were able to raise the money to wrap it.
Man, that's an incredible story. How did the apparel line idea come about?
Um, so Emmy Apparel literally had been around long before. So in 1992, I was working in a all white daycare because I couldn't understand why we would use the N word. I was coaching high school basketball at the time, and we were having a lot of success. And one day, while sitting in this daycare, because a friend asked me to come help, um, the door blew open and the words blew in with the door. So right behind that, the young lady's young sister, she comes walking in the door. And I was like, you draw, right? She was like, yes, I need you to put a box and put everything in it for kids and put these words around it. And so I took the shirt and I went and printed it. But when it came to me, I called my uncle, who was the head coach. I was associate head coach at the same high school, although I was the varsity girls head coach at the time. We on the phone, and we go to a local printer. We have it printed, and I put it on her. And she comes home that day. She's all freaked out because teachers and people was touching her. Like, where can I get that shirt? I love this. They were touching her. So we had started with that batch, and then we started putting on our basketball team. So when I come out of basketball after, very successful coaching, very successful basketball, and my son was going into middle school, I seen the problems. When you come away from coaching, you start seeing what's wrong with this society, and why are all these kids dying? So a friend of mine, Willie Davis, called me. He said, man, you said you was gonna make it a clothesline. I was like, well, yeah, but man, Will, it's bad out here, right? And then I called my brother. I said, man, all these kids dying. What y'all doing, man? What's going on? All this has been happening since, And to be honest with you, brother, my brother made it clear to me. He said, man, you got all that. Don't be part of the problem, be part of the solution. You got all that experience, help. And so my brother now is the first black head coach at Grand Valley, but he was right. And so I didn't know what to do, but I started praying and meditating, and all these affirmations started coming to me. And I started with one affirmation. I went and learned to print on my off days. I would go and volunteer at this print shop in the same community and learn to print and work for them for free. And I got some shirts printed, and with the quote on the back, time is all we have to change what we are. And I began to lay that shirt where kids was getting killed. So I ran through that process from 2004 to 2018, where my niece was murdered in 2018, getting
I'm
off a
sorry
bus.
for your loss.
Thank you. And I knew I had to do more, And so in 2018, that was the last place I laid a shirt. And the clothing line had been carrying the nonprofit. So I was selling them out the trunk. This is a great story because along the way, I was selling them out the trunk. And I never forget walking into a barbershop, and I was selling, hey man, get this shirt. It's positive, and brother Ryan, they kind of laughed at me and everything. So a friend of mine, her son was going to school with my daughter at the time. She was in the back doing nails. And so she asked me to come back, you know. She was like, I'm gonna buy a shirt. I gave her the shirt, she said she'd pay me later, and so I left. The next morning I wake up. This is I wake up and it's a message from her on Facebook. Cal, keep going. I seen your stuff last night on Ron's house. And I was like, what? And it was like, what? So I called her. I was like, what you talking about? You saw it on Ron's house. I just got your message. And she was like, your shirts was on Ron's house literally last night. So I turned to the TV. I cut the TV on, and I was like, wow, it was in the trailer, season 4. Well, I didn't know. I had no idea. You know, I'm just sharing this message with as many people with today, man. I got over 3, 4 positive affirmations, man. And so I'm gonna take this work, and we're gonna bring this positivity uh to the world. Like, we've put it in 7 countries before we even had a Shopify store, right? We did it in Africa 2, 3 times, where we did a whole elementary in Africa. It's been in Mexico, Canada, Germany, right? This and I got a partner that's from Germany, right? So we've been putting this, it's been on the NCAA
Wow,
basketball.
that's
So
incredible.
right, Western Michigan, Michigan State used one of our humble and hungry quote, which is copywritten, but people use it anyway. So Michigan State used that to go to the Final Four here in Detroit. Larry Foot wore it on the NFL Network. So we've been putting this message clearly in the people's face, and it's still being played on Ron's house, which I got to tell you, they treated me bad when they came here, and I almost quit. I literally almost quit that time that they came here. They treated me bad, and I remember asking, because Kid Rock. That's when they came here with Kid Rock, Rev Ron, Kid Rock, the whole nine, and the kids had saw me standing outside the bus with the shirt. Well, they called security and everything, man, and then the guy like, I'm asking, what did I do to you? And this is an incredible story, because the guy that was on the bus at the time came down in the doorway and turned his back. This is the second night, and I'm going, dog, like, really, brother, what's going on? Like, my shirt is literally embedded on your show the whole season. So, make a long story short, they pulled off. I was standing outside. It was tough. It was real tough, man, because where I was coming from a laborer's perspective. See, I worked all my life. So where I was coming from was work. I had no idea that I would become what I have become. But that night, it was a mom, bro. It was, what was incredible was I was standing out, it was snowing. It's at the old Joe Louis Arena. And I'm standing out there with tears in my eyes, man. And the lady walked by, and a mom, she walked by and she said, you okay? I said, no, my my t-shirt is on their show, and they just treated me bad. And I don't understand that. And she said to me, she said, you're gonna be all right, right? And she left. Well, she pulled back up with some friends of hers, got out. She gave me $100 for the t-shirt. She said, my son needed this, right? On the back of the shirt was the message: I'm a child, can you discipline me? I'm a teen, can you have patience with me? I'm a young adult now, can you love me for all the things I'm not? Encourage me, I'm young. So that's on the back of the shirt. And so she took that shirt and ran and was gone. Well, that exchange helped me keep going. And that's really how the t-shirt line, the hats, jackets, like we do stuff for fatherhood. So my good fathers only. We did 11 straight years of fatherhood celebration walks in the Labor Day parade. Swag, standing with an awesome God, right? So all of these come from this brand.
Man, it's so powerful, such a powerful story. Um, what do you think like needs to be done most in the community? I see you doing a lot of things like as far as like the mentoring, like inspiring with the positive affirmations. I'm a huge fan of metaphysical writers as well, like Florence Scovel Shinn, Napoleon Hill. What do you think like our community needs the most?
Um, we have to reestablish order. We're out of order. We've been out of order, and we brought to the opposition of order. And so when you have that, uh, the disorder calls more disorder. So when you have disorder, it creates disorder, and then it gives you more disorder. When you have order, you have less crime, you have more educated children, you have uh, more healthy relationships and men. You develop legacy, you live longer. And that order starts with, we have been a culture that did not value fatherhood. And when you value fatherhood, and there's a lot of us as men that at first we didn't value fatherhood because we come from this world where fathers are ostracized through our boys. So we have been burying boys who essentially was supposed to become fathers. And so when you take that away from a child, you take away their life, you take away their reading, you take away their common sense. And for the boy, is seed to seed. So from the man to have a son, that the contact is from seed to seed. And when we don't have proper fatherhood involvement, we're a culture right now that has 80% in home absent father teism. That's a terrible number because the value that fathers bring to the children cognitively. And the men didn't know, right? Because we out here procreating the wrong way. And so the men, as a man, we didn't know, right? So everybody told us to sow our wild oats. Everybody told us, to be a player, you know, and so not realizing that all those things feed the pipeline to prison, death, illiteracy, broken homes, suicide, rape, murder, all those things are directly connected. And so even when we talk about the frontal cortex lobe and things like that, the father impacts that as well. And so when you find that people push that process, when you go and look at two-parent households and you see kids and you see everybody is on the same page, what you get is you don't hear those people talking about frontal lobe. Hey, you hear them talking about, well, my kid's off to be a doctor, or my kid's going to be an engineer, or my child is going to be a plumber, or my child is going to be an electrician, right? These are things, and usually where you have fatherhood, you don't have as much poverty, right? And so, I think for me, it's the order and how we have to, as a culture, value the input of the father. Because here's one piece that culturally people didn't know, right? The impact of just mental health alone. Early childhood involvement of a father cognitively impacts the child, where they are not as emotional. When you remove that father away from that child early on, that child is emotional. Instantly, ACEs is being set up. So is child abuse. So I mean, it just goes on and on. Our kids are in CPS, abortions, right? You got to understand where our children are, foster care. So when you have an 80% absent fatherteism, those numbers are impacted and they only benefit the areas where the system is capitalizing off of our children.
Wise words from Calvin T. Mann, president and founder of Encourage Me, I'm Young Incorporated. Where can people reach out to you on social media?
So we are at EMI World underscore EMIY World underscore on Instagram. That's our nonprofit work, and we're at EMI Apparel, EMIY Apparel. And if you are looking to book, to speak, those things, I'm at calvintman.com. And for us, again, it's to put this message of encourage me, I'm young, on the people, right? So if you need to deal with if you're dealing with bullying or you got a bad teacher, this message is on your chest. So when you walk into the classroom, it's going to be a reminder that you're wearing our brand, that everything must change. And we have we're very, very proud to be a positive force, so to speak, in today's world, especially when you consider it's an uphill battle, and the numbers are crazy. You know, in our area, one murder really could cost the taxpayers $2 million. So we got to really look at how we can solve that issue within, and I say it's fatherhood, and then it's mentoring. It's so important that we mentor, right? Men who are fathers, because that's our secret sauce. We use dad to mentor, because there are so many kids who are not experiencing their fathers at all.
Thank you so much for your time.
No problem, brother.